Hello.
Are we live?
I think we're live.
I don't see it. Does
How
it
do we
say
know?
does it say live for you?
I don't see it on there.
Is it live?
This happened.
Do you want to do you want to see if it's live in the other room?
Yeah, sure.
On the mother computer.
Hey, Henry.
Yes.
I think it's live. It
Are
says
we
live
live?
here.
Wow.
Anyway, cool.
I'll see you in a moment. All right, I'm gonna start painting.
Okay.
Okay.
Welcome to Sunday Painting with Henry and Hamilton.
On Tuesdays.
I'm your host, Hamilton.
I'm also Hamilton. No, I'm not. I'm Henry. Hey, listen. It's on Tuesdays, though. Right now. It's what's convenient. What are you doing, Ham? How are you, bud?
I'm doing okay. I think I'm doing too much. I'm doing too much stuff. Sometimes it's important to not do so much. It's important just to relax.
And paint on, as if you were painting on a Sunday?
Yes, exactly. So today I'm starting off with a little bit of gesso to apply to the canvas.
Ham, not so forceful. I thought we were going to make this very calming.
You think that's forceful?
I was kind of joking. Wait, you're gonna apply some gesso?
Yeah, and by gesso I mean Kilz primer. So, different people have different preferences on gesso. I personally prefer Kilz primer because it's very shockingly light and it's the cheapest thing you can use, as far as I know.
It's like you, shockingly white and cheap.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate observation, I'd say. So, yeah, I just start by, applying it over certain parts that I think are necessary.
What are you covering up?
I'm covering up, I don't know what I'm covering up. What are you doing, huh? You're asking all the questions, being very nosy.
I thought to myself, everything on my painting from last Sunday, Tuesday, was too muddy. All my colors muddying together. And so I thought today I would be more graphic. And I was also enjoying earlier when we were trying to set up other cameras that produced lots of feedback and that we didn't have appropriate internet for. I was enjoying seeing kind of what it looks like to see my painting through a screen.
Huh.
And not through like my own eyes.
Uh-huh.
Kind of seeing, well, it sort of allows you to like step back in a way. So
Yeah.
it's like, what do the listeners think I'm painting and not what am I painting? And I noticed that this top area looked a little bit like one of our Bob Ross sunsets that we had done.
Yeah, it really does.
And so I've started to outline it. And I'm going to move that was kind of my first step of today.
Should we make a Bob Ross sunset beachscape right now?
Well,
Because
only
the only painting we know how to make.
Well, it only takes 27 minutes. So afterwards, we'll have plenty of time to do more painting. So,
yeah, so should we do that right now?
I mean, I kind of am. I honestly was thinking about my whole layout as being some sort of abstraction of, the alla prima method. As much as this ball might be land in my seascape painting, it also might be like a Bob Ross negative. Like instead of the sun, if there was the black hole at the center of a Bob Ross work,
Yeah.
like that.
Sunday painting.
Yeah. So what are you up to today? Did you swim this morning, Anne?
I didn't swim, but I went for a run. It was very nice. It's funny how sometimes you think the sun rising, or like right when it creeps out, would be like the most beautiful thing, the most beautiful aspect of a sunrise. But truthfully, it seems like some mornings it's before it ever rises. And I love this kind of blush that happens. It looks like it's blushing.
It looks like it's blushing.
Yeah, it's like right when the sun is coming up, it starts not by itself coming up, but it sends like a burst of red light or kind of pinkish light up to say, I'm on the way. And then, that kind of dies down and then it starts to creep out, which is really weird. So
And you've been watching those sunrises.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I have it.
That's great.
What's going on with you?
I've been drawing a lot of hands lately.
You what?
Drawing a lot of hands.
Huh.
I kind of feel like I'm grasping for something.
Drawing a lot of hands, like just in your everyday life?
Well, I've been working on this this exhibition of all this ceramics.
Yeah.
Neutrinos, so, and I'm like really drawing a lot on these pieces. And yeah, I've drawn a lot of hands. Just seeing hands in the work and just sort of pulling them out. Like the other day when we started this painting, I was just like, it's a really emotional place to be for me right now at Marygrove.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like letting the color fly onto this thing. And something I've been doing a lot with my ceramics, like when I'm glazing, I just like, it's so little control over it anyways. I'm just like, I just find throwing this stuff on the piece, and then afterwards, it's like, I think it's compelling in terms of composition and color and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't totally feel like I own it.
You're talking about that painting that you're working on right now?
Yeah, and so I'm kind of doing a similar method where I'm just kind of looking for stuff that I see and just kind of grabbing it out of it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of similar to that drawing method that you've done for so long.
Where you just look, well, I don't know. I'm still trying to follow you on what you did. My method for drawing stuff is just to look at the drawing for hours and continue to see what comes out of it, not knowing what will happen.
Yeah, yeah. Well, similar methodology, I'd say. I guess I just want, like, I was thinking about what would make a good painting, and then I was thinking that in order for something to like what qualifies something as a good painting, like if you came and did some ceramics and you made it, like I don't think that it's fair to judge that work with regard to ceramics, you know? Like if you put it in the can of ceramics, it's not aware of that, it's not attempting to address that. Like, I don't really think these paintings have much to do with painting, which is why I think like Bob Ross has been largely dismissed by, you know, the community of painters. Like his paintings weren't really about other painters or what they did or thought.
Huh.
So I guess I'm looking at this paint that I'm playing with in this canvas, and like I think it makes more sense with regard to like our own collaborative art practice, whatever sort of field you want to place that into.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, is it always about trying to find that dialogue?
No, but I do think that like if I'm looking at a painting and I'm like, is this a good painting? Like, it helps to know the context of it. You know, when I'm looking at like a piece of street art, I'm not like, well, you know, the proportion's pretty off on this like head or whatever. Like, you know, you can't think about it with regard to like legibility. That's not like how you're meant to sort of like critically assess it, right? Mm-hmm. So we get to set the boundaries on how we sort of determine these things being good. You know, is it our viewership? Is it like whether or not we get another opportunity out of it? Is it just like whether or not we had a good time? You're painting over what you painted last week?
Not painting over, I'm painting with what I painted last week.
You are?
Yeah. It's still in there. It's still speaking, but it's in a different form. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to think about how people qualify success or what makes a work successful. So I think more often than not, people dismiss the thought of, you know, like if a lot of people tend to like the work. Because that generally is not what you're supposed to follow. But when that happens, I think people really enjoy it and they often, whether they say it or not, will unfortunately start dictating what they make based on that. I mean, I think I can speak to that. Like, I feel like the works that I show to other people as being representative of what I make are oftentimes the works that were more, they came with more notoriety in some way. So I don't know. It's interesting to think about this question of like how to determine what is successful and what is not successful.
Yeah, so like when we did our show when we did Self-Titled, 2, and people were like, I don't know if these are good paintings or not.
Yeah, and it didn't much matter, although I think there was in the back of my mind something that would gnaw at me about certain things. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not. I mean, I think the thought with that was just that we had already made these things, and we made them for under another premise, like the podcast might be more of the work in that premise, or maybe just the conceptual idea of like driving down to Florida to do this thing. So it's kind of hard to say, I guess. But
there's a kind of risk in that.
Yeah.
And it kind of like, I don't think there's necessarily any more earnest than this, but I think that the narrative was maybe more grand. But maybe that's me downplaying the value of leisure.
We downplay the what?
I said maybe that's me downplaying the value of leisure.
Of leisure? Yes. I think there is value, much to be valued in leisure, or just play. Maybe not even calling it leisure. But I feel like you maybe advocate for it more than I do, but the thought that what we were doing was work in some capacity.
Do you feel that it was not work?
I felt it was work, but it's very different from pulling half-dead people out of, crack houses or something. I mean, which work would an average person rather do?
Is that what defines something as more? So is there like a spectrum of work? Things that are more work?
Maybe there's a lot of people that would take enjoyment in seeing something like that. You kind of broke up when you were just talking.
I was just saying, so is there a spectrum of work? I think there probably is. So in some circle, like the artist that works the hardest is the best artist?
No, not necessarily. Not at all. I mean, I don't think most people think that.
Yeah. Because we could find the hardest work and go do that.
And then we would be the best. That's a good thought. I'm still interested in this thought of going to, like Saint Sebastian Island or whatever, down on the exact opposite side, the antipode of, the only place in the U.S. that, has an antipode that's like an actual land. I think somewhere in Colorado, but I still like that idea of us traveling all the way there to do this thing.
And what is
do you remember this idea?
Yes. I'm just remembering. I'm thinking that we may have an audience here in Hamilton who does not.
Oh, good point. So the idea is to go to find two antipodes, and we will be using two of them from like one one that's in the U.S. because we're U.S. citizens, which is based out of like a little town in Colorado. And if you take the antipode, which the antipode antipodes are coordinates on the globe that are the exact opposite side of that globe. And you look at them, you go down to, I think like the South Pacific, or maybe kind of off the coast of Africa, but like probably 1,000 miles south of Africa or southwest of it. And you get like the island of New Amsterdam and then the Isle of Saint Sebastian or something like that. But the thought is to travel to these places, or at least one of them, and do something like paint pictures of the little town in Colorado. Or maybe we would go to one side or the other and then talk to each other from that side. Or make a whole show of works based on that little town that we've never been to, and trying to represent it without actually having been there at all.
By that it would be the opposite?
Yeah, but we would be doing it on the opposite side of the earth. I'm not sure if it's a conceptually like perfect project or anything, but or like
what would be a conceptually perfect project?
What's that?
What would be conceptually perfect?
I feel like there are a bunch of projects that are like put into effect in such a way that on a sheet of paper that's a good point to make. I mean, they have a certain like logic about them that is just beautiful as is. Even if you don't enact the thing, it's just kind of a gorgeous idea. Like the idea of doing an artist residency at the top of a lighthouse, which I think Ronnie Horn did for a month or something, where she was just at the top of a lighthouse for 8 hours a day in Iceland, observing. Or I really like this piece in Dia Beacon where it's an alarm, it's like a reverse alarm. Forget the name of the sound artist who put it out there, but it's basically like there's this ambient noise that filters in from nowhere. And you don't know where it comes from, and that's part of the piece. And it just gets progressively louder, but it does it so slowly that you aren't aware of it until it cuts off. And then you feel the silence. It's like they took away the sound that was there, and in feeling the silence, you're made aware. Like, I mean, it's called like a reverse alarm or whatever. But
That sounds.
I feel like that conceptually is like a very perfected project that holds meaning that people can maybe agree upon, or maybe not meaning, but just some sort of experience that people find a certain sense of worth to, or a value to it. That I'm not sure that could be said of us flying down to New Amsterdam or something.
I think to assume that someone would catch that and feel that is a big assumption. Like, do you really think that everyone who experiences it takes it that way?
No. But I do think that maybe 10% of visitors would feel that way. I mean, we're talking about the reverse clock piece, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's a good point to like look at what the things that most people agree upon as being very valuable or the best artistic experience, looking at Starry Night or something like that.
Yeah, so what happens when you look at Starry Night?
I don't know. I've never really looked. It's always been too crowded for me to look when I'm at MoMA.
There's got to be something there, right?
Yeah, there must be. Although, I always feel like by the time I come to these things, because they become such artifacts, it loses its youth. It's like I always feel like these artifacts or these objects that we prize as being high art oftentimes lose their ability to really exhibit and experience because they've been shown so much outside of that context. So when you come to it and you're finally there for yourself, you kind of wonder why the thing exists or why it's come to be famous because you already know, the reason that it's in that place is because of a number of cultural reasons. So I don't know. Does that make any sense? Am I just waxing?
No, I think that it's helpful to know what has been regarded as valuable in the past, both by the institution and by the public, because you use that information to guide things you do.
I feel like you're thinking of Matt Starr here.
What?
Just thinking about the artist you sent me, or the podcast, Matt Starr.
Yeah, what did you think of that guy?
I thought it was really cool. I also thought that it was very, much the direction that art is going in, or a lot of art. I mean, it is, at the end of the day, just advertisement, really, of just trying to rep a particular brand. But is that untrue of anything that we usually do?
Well, I would say that our brand is much more anti-capitalist than say making an advertisement for Amazon.
Yeah, but he didn't make that under the condition that they were going to pay him. That just kind of happened at the end, and even then, Amazon didn't pay him. It was another company, like a luggage company, that wanted him to show his ideas or bring his ideas to their company. So he just did that, I think, to get by.
Right.
But I think he genuinely wanted to show that.
So, what if we were sponsored by... I've got to let Virginia into the gate. 1 second. What if Google wanted us to do this show? Which, this seems all too likely. Hi, puppy. Hi, Miss Petunia. Okay, good to see you too. Yeah.
Hey, Henry,
Yeah.
do you know about Periscope?
Yeah.
You do?
Huh?
Do you know about Periscope?
Yeah, that's what you just asked. Yeah.
I guess it's like an application.
Yes, it is.
Do you ever think that this should be on Periscope?
Um, this doesn't work in the same way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can't have multiple. As far as I know, you can't have a conversation like this over Periscope.
Huh. Oh, yes, I see.
But I'm sure there are people who paint on there. Hi, Virginia.
Hi, Virginia.
Hey, Ham.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, you?
Hey.
What? Nice painting.
Oh, yeah, it's just something I've been working on.
You guys-
8 hours a day. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Do you guys build on them every time you do it, or you start a new painting?
I thought that we were going to make only one painting per episode, but maybe that's not true.
Yeah, I think that we paint until we're done. There are no rules. We're Sunday painters, Virginia. This
On Tuesday.
is on Tuesday. This is about leisure.
You want to see Petunia? There she is. Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's about leisure. Yeah, I like that. Leisure. Because art is fun.
Because,
Right, Henry?
yeah.
Art is fun.
Yeah, Ham.
That's why I thought I'll get an MFA. That would be fun.
That would be, yes. Yeah. I spotted Petunia in my art.
Oh, yeah. Wait, so how's the show coming with Trinosophis?
You know, it's getting there. It's getting there. I have like a whole bunch of ceramics to make. And instead, I've been working on my house. Virginia's brother got married this weekend.
Oh, yeah. How was that?
So we went up to the cottage, to Virginia's cottage, and watched that. That was a lot of fun. Took part in the wedding.
I'm going to have that.
Uh-huh.
What?
You're going to have that inside.
I did not. Sorry. So great, and where did my brush go? There it is. And yeah, I guess I've just been busy. I need to give much more time to that than I have given it to get it done in time. Not that we have like a really hard deadline, but
Yeah.
our initial concept for this was like a year ago, and I'm ready to get it, make it happen, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, that's what's going on there. How about you? What are you doing in grad school, bud? You got any other artwork you've started now?
And do I have any artwork that I started?
Like besides this?
Yes, a little bit. Yeah, yesterday I had my first critique, which is kind of cool.
What did you show?
I showed stuff from the Rainbow Project, but this time I showed it Chicago, basically.
What, you collected images of a rainbow in Chicago?
Yeah.
So you made a new one?
I made a new one, yeah. Yeah, it was cool. The critique happened at a funny time. Like we have this woman teaching the course, Irina Haduk, I guess is how you say it. Anyway, she caused kind of a skirmish the week before because she rustled a bunch of people's feathers. She hasn't been here teaching for a while because she's just been so busy. I think she's been on sabbatical and she's had several shows and stuff that are really kind of taking off. But anyway, we all talked. Wow, this is really nice. We all talked beforehand about how we wanted the critiques to take place because the week before it got so bad that students started writing her back saying not so nice things. We kind of had to have some clarity about the way we wanted things to be. But I showed the work and it seems like I got a bunch of good suggestions. And I'm going to start this in the coming 2 weeks where I start researching into events that occurred during the time that the rainbow is taking place. So, I'm just kind of feeling that out. But I feel like there's a number of things to consider within it, and I personally just need to move forward with them, and maybe they didn't get talked about as much in the critique about how I should go about it. So, just going to do that. That's a very ambiguous response to your question. It went well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really sort of grappling through my this Trina project of whether or not I think an object can do what I want art to do. I don't really know if I believe in it. In the thing itself. And so I'm kind of... What?
You mean the object?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've set up this, fairly utopian system where, people will be able to use these things without buying them, but they could buy them, and if they did, because so basically the cafe will get all these things to use for free on the condition that they're also for sale. So if someone decides to buy a piece, they can, but because I'm providing these pieces to the cafe for free, they won't take a cut of the sales. And then because it's free, so if it's a cafe, gallery, music venue, and it's if I was going to sell my work in a cafe, it's the most avant-garde, sort of reputable cafe that I could do this in. So,
yeah.
To me, it seems like a kind of, a perfect kind of situation where it's okay, if I'm ever going to feel good about just making and selling an object, I feel like this is maybe the place. And this is maybe the way to do it. And so then it's okay, what do these things look like? And really struggle to figure out like what do I want them to be or do. That's not like a super. Like I guess like I don't just want like a fancy object, or like if it was just like a cup that was like different, that like wasn't shaped or formed in a way that you might traditionally think of a cup, but you're using it. Is that gonna shift your perception about the world? Is it gonna make you think like, oh, like look at how we can change this basic system. Does that mean we can change some other basic system? Or like, oh, like I don't even know what the function of like a purely aesthetic thing is, I suppose what I'm much more interested in is like the creative reinterpretation of systems and the presentation of that, like, as it is. So I suppose, like, I'm sort of more interested in the fact that I will be sort of having this mutually beneficial relationship with this cafe where, they get to have and use these things, which is a service to them, and they get to sell them and take no cut, which is a service to me, supposedly, as an artist. And I'm kind of more interested in that system than anything else, but then I have to kind of figure out, well, what the heck should these objects be or do? And I am almost really just interested in the object as a way to connect to me, because I feel like I have so much more to say than I could possibly represent on the object. And so I've basically just been decorating them with my telephone number.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of saying, please call me.
Yeah.
So as much as it is like a piece of ceramic or like a pot or something like that, I don't know. It's not really meant to be like a business card. It's not just like an advertisement, although I think some of it is sort of making fun of the sort of absurdity of how the artist has to kind of commodify their own persona.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I just want to make myself accessible, and I want to have some kind of meaningful encounters as a result of this thing. And so I guess the telephone number seems like a good place to start. I can't really think of what else I should write on it. Besides that, I'm sort of just like writing poetry, I guess.
Oh, that's nice. Poetry is good.
But I feel like formally that's what I do when I'm like manipulating the thing, is I'm kind of like playing with this this like vocabulary of forms to make some sort of like relationship between them that is sort of more like puzzling and open-ended than some kind of definite answer about it. And that all seems interesting, but I guess I just like go in and out so often about whether or not I think the form could even be potentially worthwhile, that I'm not really feeling confident that I'm going to want to like keep doing it,
Yeah. Yeah, you're dealing with a bunch of stuff, a bunch of real life.
Bunch of real life stuff.
As you now have a mortgage.
As I have a mortgage. into wax. You know what I need him?
What do you need?
I think I need a little fan brush. I'm gonna grab my 1.5-inch fan brush. And I'm just gonna tickle it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just do little circles, and just tickle it.
Just tickle it, yeah. Just tickle it.
You need me to hold your hand?
Oh, my phone is gone in low power mode. No, that's okay. I can hold my own hand. I wonder how long this recording has been so far.
I mean, I'm not done yet.
I'm pretty close with mine.
Really?
Yeah. Just look at it.
I can't.
You can't?
No, your video's gone.
Oh, no. Not cool.
I've been doing this like slow line work crap.
Our part is always destroying the thing.
What?
Nothing.
You can be honest with me, man.
Weird.
Did you remember to tickle it?
I tickled it. So I don't know if you can hear it, but up above my studio, they have like music practice for all the singers of like really intense musicals. Occasionally, I will hear them singing up there, and I can hear them right now. Oh yeah, gotta love that painting.
Do you have a lovely painting?
I feel good about it. I think it's going in the right direction. I'm feeling inspired.
What are you inspired by?
I'm inspired by my best bud.
Aww. I'm
Yeah,
inspired.
he's just down the hall. He makes great paintings.
Can you see my painting?
Again, it looks really cool from tiny and slanted.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, you know, I just wish that it was as tiny and slanted as it seems in that image. I can only wish. I have all of these like golden strips from the inside of paint tubes.
Huh.
Because I like tore up all these old paint tubes trying to like try and get this together. I think I'm just gonna lay them on. Just paint back. and just get that strip on there. That's a nice gold, you know?
Yeah.
Like a bright golden strip. I'm making a little plant. That's sort of growing out of the side of this dead horse.
A plant growing up the side of the dead horse.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
That sounds kind of violent.
Yeah, things are pretty violent lately.
Really?
Just in the world.
Yeah, they are. I just heard about Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's like the most fucked up thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just really hate that. And so I think I need, I don't know, feels like dishonest to just have it be pretty. Every time that I start making things as of late, I just get so fucking angry.
Well, you can make those things and have them be in discourse with what's going on. That's okay.
Yeah, no, that's totally what I've been doing. I guess I just I just like kind of feel like I can't help it and I kind of deny it.
That you're denying it, or you're giving into some sort of self, like the work you're doing somehow isn't good enough, considering all that's going on in the world.
No, I just feel like I don't think it's appropriate to make something like that's totally naive of all of that.
Yeah.
So I've just been like trying not to be, I guess. And I think that kind of manifests itself within like the things that I've been making as they're having some really dark undertones.
Huh. Have you ever thought of making like just large ceramic tiles that are just straight up paintings? No need for a cup, just as.
I really, really like the kind of intimate relationship someone has with a functional pot.
Because it has a use.
Yeah. I also like that there is kind of like an accepted price range about those things that is fairly democratic in terms of its like accessibility.
Not always. Yes.
Like I like that pottery tends to be cheap, and I think that like even expensive functional pottery can be, very affordable in the spectrum of artwork.
Yeah.
And I think in one way that has done a disservice to its value in terms of how it's been seen within a larger art community. And I also think that it is kind of really great because there's probably a bunch of people who have it and use it that like wouldn't typically live with such like thoroughly considered and produced artwork.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I mean, like, it's not to say that I don't want to make anything expensive. Like, I do. I just think that, like, and I say I do because, like, I need the money, I guess. But I think that that tends to relegate the works to specific communities that, maybe I'm not so necessarily interested in catering to.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's a sad part to it. Oh, good old Sunday painting. Yep, right here on Sunday painting. Was there something about the 954 project that moved aside from that? Or was that just a different time period for you?
What do you mean?
I mean, I feel like we talked about this stuff before, but it didn't weigh on you like it does now. Like we talked about the relevance of art in an economy.
Relevance of art in what?
We talked about the relevance of art in the economy and how if we were in a genocide right now, we would not be making art, or at least at the time when we were driving to Florida.
War paint. Like, I don't know, I think it all carries weight. For different reasons at different times at different places. I think I was equally concerned with what actually came out of object making, like from a social perspective, and not just thinking about aesthetically whether or not I felt it was a successful image or something.
Yeah.
But I would say what's different is I'm back in Detroit and I'm not in graduate school.
Were you in graduate school then?
No, but I was still living in Alfred.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what's like going on over here,
What's going on now that you're there?
No, this is part of the painting. I had the black hole, I decided to do the white hole.
Henry, I should stop in a few minutes
Okay.
because I am in grad school and things are quite busy.
Yeah, so what are you gonna do?
I have to write a few emails. I have to start researching this project. You know, what would be more interesting than trying to research into, so like, I pulled up all of these images from Chicago at that date and time, July 13th, 2016.
Yeah.
And there was an Adele concert that took place then, and there's like thousands of pictures of Adele singing, which I don't know what it would be like to go to an Adele concert because I thought she only had like one or two hits. So like, and also Adele is like super emotive. I feel like it's this one very. Oh, it just switched. That's cool. Did that happen?
What's
Do you have,
with?
do you have two cameras on?
No.
Huh. That's weird. Anyway, another thought is that I should just look at all of the images leading up to the massacre that happened. To pull all of them up on, on the program I've been using.
Yeah. Like, what? Just the moment. What is that? Is that
Where nobody could have expected the horror that would have happened. In a way. But,
what can we get out of looking at those images?
but yeah, so I should do several things. I also need to do some readings. There's a lot of artist works that I've been trying to like get to. This one artist, Renee Green, so cool. Or interesting, I guess. Maybe not cool.
Do you think your painting is done?
I think it's pretty done. It seems that every time I touch it more, it's done a little bit less.
I have no idea how to determine this thing is being done, except that I am mostly out of paint.
Maybe this isn't done as much as it's done for today.
I would say the one thing I'm concerned about with our Sunday painting is that I am going to run out of paint.
Henry, what do you say? Are we?
What do you say? It's like.
Oh, I also need to paint my walls.
Yeah, do you need to do it more than we need to do this, though? You know what I mean?
What's that?
I will let you go. If you need to go, I'll let you go.
How about this? How about we end the show, but we keep talking?
Wait, why would we do that?
Because I still have things I would love to talk to you about, and I need to be in my studio for longer.
But you can't share them with our listeners?
Well, it's just different from the painting that we're working on. Like, I need to paint this stuff over here. See? I guess you can't really see it.
I can't see anything. Yeah, your painting has gone away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna go into.
Okay. Bye. Bye, listeners. Great. Wow. Thanks for coming.